Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, December 30th, 2024. So this is the last live stream of the new year. And I'm going to start off by saying I'm not completely 100% right now. We had a get together over Christmas. Bunch of, family got together. And I'm sure I have inherited some sort of sickness. So you know how it is. You get together with family. It's all great. You all see each other. Yay. And then you all go home and everybody's sick. So I've got sinus drainage. My voice is a little bit rough. And it's just that time of year. It's just the way it is. So I hope everybody is in a good mood. I hope everybody has had a good Christmas, a time to celebrate with family and friends. We have done several, obviously, events with family and some friends. And, those are good times. Those really are. And, you look back at those times and as your kids get older and now my grandkids, our grandkids are getting older and you see the changes that happen in all of us. And, they're good memories to have. They are very good memories to have. And again, I hope everybody had a good Christmas and enjoyed everything. I know, of course, I've mentioned it before. We have our Christmas dinner is lasagna. We still have some left over. I'm not sharing. You're not getting any. But we still have some, not much, left over. And I've been enjoying that as well. So I've probably put on a couple pounds over the past few week or so, enjoying the food and the cakes and pies and all that stuff that goes with this time of year. So I don't have much of an agenda tonight. So if we want to talk about cars, that's great. If we want to talk about movies, if you want to talk about food, I don't really care right now. It can be just about anything, and I'm up for it. So if you have a subject you want to talk about, let's roll with it. Now, again, if you're new to my live stream, I have been doing this probably 2 or 3 years. I know I was doing it during the pandemic, COVID situation, and kept doing it since then. Like I've been doing it at least 3 years that I've been trying to do this on every Monday night. And ideally the focus is talking about cars, and in particular cars from my bracket of time. I say classic is my bracket of 55 to 79, 80, 81, 82, before fuel injection and all that stuff came along, or really basically the start of throttle bodies, which I'm really not into either. However, that has been my bracket. And if you have been watching my channel, my primary focus has been Mustangs. Now, I've worked on Camaros and Chevelles, and I haven't done really any Mopar stuff here in my garage, but I have had Mopars. And my family, actually, my brother raced Mopar products. I did some racing with a Mopar, and that's always been kind of in the background of our history, let's say. I was looking at some pictures the other day of, just times that we went racing and looking at the tracks. There's some Facebook pages that are dedicated to like Western Pennsylvania racetracks, and to see some of that stuff is just really fun to have those memories pop up. But nonetheless, this is our conversation, and we try again. If you have a subject you want to talk about, or a problem, or a question, or whatever, need some details, I try to help out as much as I can. And if I can't, there's a great group of people over there in the chat box, and they tend to chime in as well and help out. So, with all that said, there's your first bell tonight. So that's to commemorate the last live stream of the year. So, all right. I've got a lot of comments to catch up on and some things we can obviously talk about. So, first one in tonight is Rick Stevenson. So, Rick's been missing a little bit. Glad you're here, Rick. And usually when Rick is here, that's when I get my first sip of coffee, which, thank you, Rick. There we have it. And this is the mug that Travis got me. This is the oil filter mug. Love it. I think it's fantastic. So shout out to Travis for supplying me with that as well. Okay, so Rick's here, says hello everyone and Happy New Year. Yes, thank you, Rick. There's an extra bell. Dave Tyson First Dave sighting. Good evening, all, Barry. How much damage did you get? Not bad, I hope. Thank you, Dave. And yes, I did get some damage to the garage. And I did download some pictures here. We had a storm come through a couple days ago. And let me tell you, this was probably, to my memory, the most violent thunder that I've ever heard. Like, it was like bombs going off. I mean, I like thunder. I really do. I like lightning and thunder doesn't intimidate me. Military stuff, kind of same effect. But a good rumbling thunder just sounds so cool. But this was like explosive thunder coming through. And there was actually a small sighting of a tornado just south of us. And I know Florida got hit and different things like that. But here, I have a bunch of pine trees behind the shop. And this is what we ended up with. Let me pull this down real quick. So the pine tree in the center of the picture was dead, but it snapped off at probably 8 or 10 feet up, and then it fell onto my garage. It caught the back corner area. You can see in the left side of the picture, that's part of the tree that ended up on top of my roof. And so what happened, it knocked the fascia loose from the trusses, kind of dropped it down some, knocked out the soffit, and then up on top of the garage, of course there's a lot of pine needles and stuff anyway, but there's the big chunk of wood of the tree that actually fell to the right slightly and caught what would have been the ridge vent. And then pieces of it fell off and were on the ground as well. So I've been working on that actually. And my knee hates me right now. So I did have to replace some of the fascia boards, redo the trim. I got all that done today. And I'm going to replace or put the soffit back in tomorrow. And we should be good to go. So thankfully nothing major, no bust through the roof or anything like that. So I'm pretty happy with the little that I ended up with, let's say, overall. So glad you're here, Dave, and thank you for asking. Terry Keithley, Happy New Year, Barry, and all. Please hit a thumbs up and like for Barry, Terry, Betty, and the cats. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you being here. And Troy, Justin, hey, from coastal Georgia, had a good trip to NPD today and saw the infamous Joe Daddy's Garage sticker on the window. Getting new parts makes for a good day. Happy New Year. Thank you, Troy. And I did download your picture you sent me, so we can show that. I put this up on the front door of NPD when I was there visiting with Rick Schmidt. And I said, can I put a sticker up? He's like, yeah, do it. So nobody's taking it down, thankfully. But that was put up a year and a half ago, something like that. So it looks like it's still in good shape. And glad you took that picture, Troy. Appreciate that. Let's go back up here. Rick Gain, our second Rick sighting. Another year is coming on. Hopefully next year it will be better. Let's hope so. It has potential. It has potential. There's a lot going on across the world, and a lot of the stuff we hear, we end up having issues with a lot of things, politically, socially, all sorts of different things. And not to downplay any of that, because we are all affected by everything that happens. But some of the stuff that's going on in the world is just heartbreaking. Let's say, you got the conflicts between Ukraine and Russia and Syria and Israel and all that stuff going on, all the political spectrum of it. And why you wonder sometimes, why are we all fighting over everything when we shouldn't be? And then, because I'm an aircraft mechanic, this affects me. That plane went down in Korea. Well, it landed and then hits a brick, concrete barrier, and everybody dies except for 2 people on that plane. And stuff like that really does it bothers me in particular, because aircraft maintenance And we all have our struggles. We all have, like, I can look at that roof and go, oh my gosh, I got to fix the roof. Whereas these people over there, they're losing entire families for various reasons. And like that plane crash, I mean, like, imagine those people being on that plane and thinking, oh, we got on the ground, we're okay. And then 20 seconds later, they're all gone. So I'm just saying, there's a lot going on that affects all of us, but sometimes we have to step back a little bit and look at that big picture and go, you know what? Life isn't so bad. And that's kind of how I like to look at things. But glad you're here, Rick, and hopefully next year will be better. I agree 100%. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman. Evening all. Hope everyone enjoyed the rare, nice 80 degrees day today. Doesn't get this cold at night in the summer. 80 degrees does sound pretty nice, but it's been pretty decent here the last couple days. I will say this, if you'll notice, I don't have the insulation, my blankets up on the wall. I had this door open, the side door, and I don't know what these birds are, sparrows or something. They love to fly in here, but then they can't seem to find their way out. So I had to take all the blankets back down to open up the door to let the birds out. They love to come in here, and I don't like it. But I'm glad you're here, Robert. David, the bowler hat guy. Good evening, Barry. Hello, all. Happy New Year. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, sir. And I did. It was a good time. It was a good time. Enjoyed time with family and friends. Can't complain. Dave Conville. I think it's the third Dave. I'm not sure. Good evening and Happy New Year. Same to you, Dave. Glad you're here from New Jersey. Black GTX. I missed the past 2 weeks. To holiday stuff. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Rusty's Restorations. Hello, Barry, and all from Southern Indiana. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Thumbs up for Barry. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I've been trying to... Well, it seems like every time I try to do something different, I end up having to do stuff like the garage issue. And I think I told you all I moved the barn over that I had outside, last week or so. There's a lot going on. And, of course, I am still working on the Cobra Jet. I've been finishing up the driver's side fender. That's almost completely done. And it's almost ready for another final, possibly, round of primer. So I'm looking forward to getting that taken care of. Bob Shoemaker, good evening all. Scored some small parts for the Mach 1, so hopefully in a new year I can get started. Awesome. Small parts count too. Yeah. Dawn's Manufacturer. Hello, boys and girls from slightly less soggy land of guitars. Yeah, you know what? If you haven't checked out Dawn, besides his Mustang stuff, he's a musician, and he's going through a 1953 Les Paul guitar, I think, that belonged to a friend of his. And it's fun to see that stuff happen. I know you've gotten a lot of views on that, which is great. And, sometimes that's the thing. People want to see something out of the ordinary, which that's kind of out of the ordinary, in my opinion. So I'm really happy to see you get some views on that. And I think you're only like 20 or 30 people short of 1,000 subscribers, I think. So if you haven't already, go look at Dawn's Manufacturing and subscribe to him. Help him out get to those subscriber count. But, yeah, there's another bell. Glad you're here, Dawn. Dawn, also, Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, definitely. Shannon Vaughn. Hello, all. Hello, Shannon. Glad you're here. Christian, I should say. Stefan. So, no lasagna? I tuned in for lasagna. No lasagna. I'm not sharing, but I'm glad you're here. I think, if I remember, Romania, right? I want to say Romania, I think. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But I think that's where you're at. So awesome to have you here. Danny Alvey, good evening, Barry. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Ed Cucciarella. Hello, all. Hello, Ed. And we have Steve Reed. Hello, Barry, and everyone. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Now we're getting ready for a new year. It's been in the 50s for the past week. This Saturday, Sunday is going to be 30s to 20s and snow. Yeah, they said there's that bomb cyclone coming through that's supposed to be hitting, I guess, I don't know, north part of Texas, maybe, coming across and going up. So hopefully it bypasses Georgia. I don't want any of that stuff, but glad you're here from Paducah, Kentucky. Lawrence T. McGillicuddy, ever considered a vet? That's a good question. I've considered a vet. I helped rebuild a 69 Stingray for a buddy of mine. I don't know that I want to work on them very much because they're not really easy to work on. And that particular car was the 427 car, factory 4-speed, and I converted it to a Tremec 5-speed. That was a fun challenge. I enjoyed that. But I don't know that I'd really want to do like rebuild another one as far as those cars go. But I wouldn't mind having a later model Corvette just to play with. You know, it wouldn't even have to be the latest one. I don't want the latest ones are really cool, the rear engine thing, but I wouldn't mind I think a C5 or C6 maybe, if somebody wanted to, gift me one or something like that. But yeah, they're cool cars. But yeah, I've not really done much beyond that one that I rebuilt for a buddy of mine. David Sweatman, good evening, Barry and all. Good evening, David. That's like the third, I think, Dave sighting. Travis, good evening, all. Good evening, Travis, my number one patron. Thank you, sir. Glad you're here. Harvey, Rally Cat Garage. Hello, Barry. Happy Monday. Sorry about the storm damage. Glad you were okay. Yeah, thank you, Harvey. I actually heard that tree hit the garage. And I was like, it was one of those moments where it's like 3 to 4 in the morning. And do I even want to get out of bed and go outside and look? Because what am I going to do at that point anyway? So I just tried to go back to sleep and finally did. But the, the damage is done at that point. So I was just hoping that it didn't do anything serious. And thankfully it was fairly minor overall. So glad to hear, Harvey. Steve Reed, thumbs up for Barry, everyone. Yes, thank you, Steve. Travis, did you get your second package? I haven't checked. I have not checked. I know I think you said the second it was supposed to come in. So I haven't been over there to the post office yet. But I will take a look. So thank you, Travis. NorrisNet, Jeff, Happy New Year, Barry. Happy New Year, Jeff. Glad you're here. And Jeff is working on another Mustang project. Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw what he had before. He had a beautiful convertible. I don't know if it's a 65 or 66. Just beautiful car. And he is in the middle of another project where I think he's planning to turn a coupe into a fastback. And so it's I believe it's a 65 as well, or 65.6, And I know he's been disassembling that car and working towards. I don't know if you're planning on putting videos on YouTube, Jeff, but just giving you a shout out there for the work that you're doing on that right now. Ronald Alcorn. Alcorn? Yeah, Alcorn. Hello from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Hello, Ronald. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but more towards Somerset. So, a bit more west. And Christian says, yes, Bucharest, Romania. Thank you, Christian. That's what I thought. Michael Pagliarini, Happy New Year to everyone. Hope no one else is sick. Yeah, glad you're here. Sick is not fun. Never. But, as we know, it can always be worse. And Christian says, so specific question here. What are some good to know things when doing a manual transmission conversion on a 67 Coupe V8? Some good things to know. That's a challenging question. I guess part of that is, what transmission are you using? Are you doing a standard clutch or a hydraulic clutch? And that's about it that I can think of. I know that Harvey has done a conversion where I think he put a 5-speed in his car and put in the later model hydraulic clutch. So he had some information on that previously. Here's an answer for you from Dawn. It says, Christian, pedal support is different, light duty. So you have to look into the pedal situation on that as well. That's about as much as I can give you at this point. Good question, though. Thank you. Terry Rushing, hey there from Naples, Florida. Happy New Year. Is it okay if I'm having beer instead of coffee? It is, as long as it's Yingling. It can only lager. Only lager. That's all you can have is lager beer. You can't have that. Anything else, coffee or lager beer or water is acceptable on this live stream. So, Yingling is my preferred beer. Christian, I have an automatic and thinking about converting to manual. Okay. Yeah, again, you'd have to think about what transmission you're planning to use and, the configurations set up for that. He says a friend bought a manual Mustang. He wanted automatic, we spoke about trading transmissions and all the bits that need to be changed. Oh well, if he has a similar car, basically I would look at swapping out the whole pedal assembly from both cars. You're gonna have to have your car should already have the mount point on the top of the frame rail for the clutch ball, for the Z bar or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean it's basically everything is connected to that transmission needs to come away from that. So the clutch and the clutch pedals and that should be a pretty easy swap, really. Should be if it's the same generation or Mustang, older Mustangs. So yeah, that would be pretty simple, I think. Mercury Man Garage and Outdoors. Good evening from Michigan, Barry. Good evening, Mercury Man. I like that you covered a lot of subject matter there. Garage and outdoors. I like that. That's a good thing to do. Okay, so Don already talked about the pedal. Jeff says both 66 yes and videos to come. Okay, awesome. And thank you. You're welcome, Jeff. So you might want to check out Norris Net as well on YouTube. Dawn says Betsy has a TKX transmission with mechanical clutch setup. So you could also, Christian, check out Dawn's channel because he's probably done something on that transmission or that setup on his channel. Harvey, T5 swap in my 68 used a Mustang Steve clutch cable conversion kit. Modern driveline conversion crossmember. Conversion drive shaft is 1 inch shorter than stock. So there you go. There's some information going that route. Jeff, thank you. Yes, you're welcome. And Dave Tyson says starter as well. So, yeah, you'll have to obviously do the swap the flex plate, flywheel, clutch, all that stuff has to interact together. Rick says, what is the atmosphere in Georgia like after the passing of Jimmy Carter? Wasn't a fan of his presidency, but he did a lot of good after he left office. I don't really know. I haven't seen. I mean, I guess there's people mourning his loss. I don't know. I know that I think he went into hospice care like 2 years ago, so he just kept hanging on. But I guess I've seen maybe some posts from some friends that were like commenting about what he's done, but I really haven't kept up with it. I know that yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about the status of everybody here. Growing up in Pennsylvania, I wasn't necessarily even thought about Jimmy Carter. So that, that's all. That's really all I have. I really haven't kept up with it. Harvey says used a Fox body bell housing. Okay, that's some another good piece of advice there. Terry Rushing, I have some Yingling, but it's a Budweiser night. I'm putting my 68 Torino back together. 428 Cobra Jet, not original. Okay, that works. We'll take that. Denny Alvey says, don't forget to install the pilot shaft bearing on the manual setup or manual swap. Yes. So your crankshaft, you're going to have a pilot bearing in the back of the crankshaft, and you have to make sure that's in place because that's pretty important. You're going to want that to be right. So make sure you consider that as well. Christian says, so the starter is different on a manual than automatic. And it probably is. Because I don't know, I can't say for sure what the difference is between the flex plate and the flywheel. The teeth count might be different. You know, if you were to put them up against each other, there might be some difference. One might be a little bit smaller than the other. So you're probably further ahead swapping all those together. So just keep that in mind. But make sure you look into that pilot bearing. Tom Anziano, okay. Welcome, Tom. Yingling beer, your Pennsylvania is showing. That's okay. I'm originally from PA2. A special thank you for the help earlier this week regarding the floor bracket placement and the video you sent. Okay, yeah, good. I'm glad that helped. He's putting together a 6970 Mustang and had some issues with the brackets where they mounted for the back part of the car, so I was able to give him some information on that. Yeah, the oldest American beer company in America. The oldest beer company in America is Yingling Beer. That's correct. Troy Justin, I guzzled my bourbon since Barry said it's not allowed. What a rush. Yep. Dawn says, if using a T5 or TKX, use a ball-style pilot bearing. Oil light bushing okay for top loader. So there's some more information for you. So we don't know. I don't know if he's talking about a stock transmission for that generation or not. But thank you, Dawn. That's some good information to share. Steve Reed also says starter normally has different teeth count. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There may be a difference between the flex plate on the automatic and the flywheel on the manual. So you have to look into that, and just probably better off just to swap everything. Danny always says you can swap the starter head. That is the difference in the starter. Okay. I'd probably just do the whole assembly, just one for one, rather than try to take stuff apart. And if you can do all that together, probably further ahead. Travis says, I know there are two different bell housings. I think a 157 tooth flywheel and a 164. Not sure on the numbers. I believe the starters are all the same. So I'm not sure on that. But Robert says most manuals use the 168. 153 is the smaller one. Yeah, I haven't kept up with those specifics as far as the teeth count and that sort of thing. Not really my agenda at this point. But very good information to have, just in case. There's always more stuff to have, more information to have. Let me see if I still have this. I want to show you this. I showed it last week, I think. Maybe it's still here. Oh, there it is. So, I was talking about cleaning up stuff and getting rid of things. And I've thrown this taillight away twice now. And I'm going to throw it away a third time. I was like, I thought this belonged to an Impala, but it doesn't. Now, my problem is I found out what it belongs to. And I don't know why I have it. This doesn't make any sense to me. because I've never had one of these cars, personally. This is from a 65 Corvair. A 65 Corvair. Why do I have this taillight for a 65, or this lens, and it's broken? It's not even intact. The pieces are broken out of the corners, or out of the ring here. And I was like, I thought it was an Impala, and it turns out it was a 65 Corvair. Anybody need a broken taillight lens for a 65 Corvair? Just stuff that we hang on to for no reason at all. It's crazy. Okay. Robert says if you use an aftermarket mini starter, they usually have holes to fit both. There you go. That's always a bonus. And Christian, the manual he has is just a factory, or manual he has is just a factory 4-speed. My car is relatively stock, other than the motor rebuilt with bigger flat top pistons. Okay. Dawn says nose housing is different, about an inch different in length. I did a video on starters, so there you go, Stefan. Dawn can help you out with a starter situation. Mercury Man, have you restored any Mercuries? I'm working on a 65 Comet Cyclone. I have not. Let me think here. I have not restored any Mercuries. I may have done some minor work at some point, but I know I've worked on some Cougars, but I have not worked on a 65 Comet Cyclone. Cool car though. Cool car. I have a funny story about that. Since you mentioned that car, if I remember correctly, I think it was a 65. I know it was a Comet. I was in the Army, and a buddy of mine bought I believe it was a 65 Comet. It was light blue. It was like that, the super light blue. And he bought it, and this was back in 86, 87. So he bought this car, and it was mint. And I mean, it was from Georgia. That car was mint. Everything on it was perfect. The color, it had never been repainted. It was just incredible. And it was a two-door, and this guy would take it out and drive it around, and he treated it pretty good. And then one night, apparently, he decided to drink a lot. And he was driving back. I never did see the car completely afterwards. He was driving back onto the base, and somehow he got it on the wrong path. He was like not coming to where our barracks was. He was going somewhere well off the path. And there was a bridge down there at Fort Benning that it was like a one-lane concrete bridge. And it was not short. It was, it might have been 100 yards. I don't know. But this guy was so out of it that he bounced that car back and forth off of that bridge, tearing up both sides. And then there was a guy coming the other way, and he was basically stopped, waiting for him to get across, plows into that guy and rolls the Comet. Destroyed the car. But it was just, it was sickening. It was just terrible. I always think about that when I picture a 65 Comet. It was a mint condition car. So, but I have not done any specific work on those. The bowler hat guy, David, put that taillight cover in the trash and leave it there. Yeah, I know. I didn't know what it was for last week. I had no idea, but now I know. Terry Rushing, my CJ has a counterweight flywheel. If you use one from a 390, it'll shake your teeth out. Don't ask me how I know. Thank you for that, Terry. Dawn says, no. Contact your local Corvair club. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to want this, Dawn. It's broken. The mount points are all broken off. Like, there's a big chunk missing. I don't know if you can see that very well. There's a big chunk missing out of that. So it's not even something you'd probably put on a car. Yeah. And I'd probably have a hard time finding a local Corvair club, to be honest. Christian, the plan is to get everything related to the manual swap from his car and put it on mine with the starter pedals and everything that goes with it. Just wanted to make sure it is doable. Yeah, it's doable. But again, make sure you have that pilot bushing in the back in the crankshaft. So the shaft for the transmission, whenever you go to put everything together, here's an example. I got more junk hanging around here. So this is an install tool for a clutch. Okay. So whenever you put the clutch on the car, or put the flywheel on the car, and you're going to set the clutch in place and bolt everything down, they sell these tools. This goes into the splines of the clutch disc, and then goes into the back of the crankshaft where the pilot bushing is. Okay. So this aligns everything. So whenever you are done, you take this back out, the transmission comes in, and it should line up with the clutch and line up with the pilot bushing. But you got to make sure you have that pilot bushing in place. Okay? It's usually like a bronze or something. So make sure you have that. But you also need one of these tools, very handy. They sell these at any parts store here in the U.S. You tell them what you have, and a lot of times, I think even new clutch kits, I think come with these as a helpful tool. So just keep that in mind. Some of the things you'll need. Now these are very handy to have. So I don't know why. I probably have like 4 or 5 of these hanging on my wall that I haven't used in ever. But there's just some more information for you. Okay, so without buying additional stuff, yeah, you should be pretty good to go. Check the condition of the clutch as well. If that clutch disc is worn down, you may end up just putting a new one in. Probably debatable. I mean, you may want to look at the clutch, the flywheel as well. Check the surface of it. If there's any kind of grooves or anything like that, sometimes you can resurface the flywheel, and then put a new clutch disc in, all new assembly. If it's all got some wear on it, you may want to upgrade some things there. So just keep that in mind. Michael says, Barry, what are you running for intake manifold on your 68? That's a good question. I don't know specifically. It's an aluminum intake. I've got an Edelbrock 600 carburetor on it, but I don't remember if it's an Edelbrock intake manifold or not. I don't remember. And part of the reason I don't remember is that engine was built by a buddy of mine, and it came with the intake manifold already on it. So if you go back, I did a break-in video on that one, on Jade, and that intake manifold, you could probably see it better in that imagery. But it may be just maybe a Summit brand intake manifold. I don't know for sure. I can't say 100%. So sorry about that. Don says, okay, it's a Frisbee. Yeah, it needs to go. Travis, Christian, I know the cable clutch kits have specifics on what brake booster you use, and the headers can get in the way. FYI. Yeah, that's true too. That could be something to look at. Bob Shoemaker, the other guy, needs to remove his pilot bushing so the converter will go in. Okay. I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but I'll take your word for it. And yeah, you need to buy one of these tools to help you get that in place. TD, I'm going to paint my 70 Mach 1 myself this spring. It is ready for primer. I have the doors and fenders lined up and locked in. Should I take the doors off when I go to paint the jambs inside the door? Did you pose this question somewhere on one of my videos earlier? Because I didn't get a chance to respond to that. Now, I've done videos on paint process how I do it, and normally let me think about back up just a step. I paint everything on the car, so I paint it with the doors on. I try to put the fenders on but offset so that there's a little gap between for the paint to go through. But normally before I put everything on the car the last time, I will spray the door jambs up front, in particular the A-pillar and all that stuff. Sometimes I'll even spray the front of the door and then assemble everything and adjust it. So the paint process normally, let's say, works is, and I'll say this as a reference to PPG, and I will say for most base coat, clear coat paints, you have a 24-hour window between spraying primer or spraying base coat and top coating it with clear. What that means is you can spray base coat anywhere you want. If you assembled the doors and had them in place, again, you could spray the base coat. You could spray the whole car after that, and within 24 hours, you need to top coat it. That's the normal procedures. So I have videos out there, other videos where I've done the paint work on Jade, probably the Mystique Mustang, and what else was there? Oh, the light blue Mustang that I did years ago. So those three should be all on there and available. But I try to make sure everything is on the car when I paint it, obviously, the doors and all that stuff lined up. So you have the doors and fenders lined up and locked in. So I take the doors off and I go to paint the jambs inside the door. You don't have to if you can get access. Like with the fenders on, you can't get the front edge of the door. You just can't. You can kind of try to blow the color back in there, but you're gonna have a hard time with it. So try to look at some of those other videos that I did, and there's other YouTubers out there who have demonstrated these sort of things as well. There's a guy that I follow, I've watched some of his videos. He's in Australia. He does some really tremendous paint work, and I can't think of what his name is at the moment, but he is really over the top with detail on how to paint what, where, and when, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I would probably have jammed everything before I put all that stuff on, but again, you make sure you're at that point where you're done, like you're not going to be doing anything else. So good question. I don't know if I gave you a great answer or not. I tried. Dawn says use a 10.5-inch clutch also. So there's an endorsement for that. Thank you, Dawn. Rick Ain, likely going to have to cut a different hole in the floor for the shifter. I believe they're in different locations in an automatic than a manual. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that they designed it. That's why the top loader, 4-speed or whatever. Yeah, I don't think there's any difference between the whole location. Now, if you're going to put in a T5 or some other thing, you may have some problems. But I don't think there's a difference in that location. I've never seen that. Rusty, my flywheel is all checked up, small cracks. So there you go. Make sure you check the flywheel. Good observation. You don't need a bad flywheel in there. Don says same hole in the tunnel. There you go. Yeah, same location, same hole. Don says there's also a wiring difference for shifter elimination and backup lights. That's good to know. Now I wonder, is it something like just a different harness, or is it something you can adapt? That may be, I don't know. I don't have any more info on that, but that's some good things to know. TD, thanks. I will watch your previous paint videos and just subscribed. Okay. Yeah, somebody had asked a similar question earlier. But yeah, if you look back at the Jade videos, Mystique, like I said, the light blue Mustang, that all gets covered in there pretty good. Michael Pagliarini, does anyone have thoughts on an Edelbrock air gap RPM? I don't have any particular thoughts on that. No, I don't know if it's. I don't know how tall that is. Like I know the air gaps usually sit up higher. So my question would be, is it going to affect the air cleaner, the carburetor height, how it's going to interact with the hood? That might be a concern. Because I know that thing sits up, it's got a taller center section for sure. Um, so just something to think about there. I know that they do make low rise or low air cleaners, but I don't know. I don't know how much problem there is between the two. Don says yes, different harness plugs into the right of the steering column. Okay, so Christian, you can look at that as well. Oh, there he goes. He says the harnesses I'm using is an American Autowire 6768 Mustang Revision 2. Okay. Well, hopefully that covers everything you need to know then. Dawn says Michael hood clearance. So talking about the air gap. That's what I was saying earlier. Can't really, I don't know how much space you have there. So thank you, Dawn. Harvey, the T5 trans came up through the hole for the automatic in the 68 coupe. Well, that's a bonus. No mods there. That's cool. That's good to know. I've thought about a few times whether I would want to put in a manual transmission in the Mach 1. And I can definitely say that's not happening. That is not going to happen. My left knee is not good. We'll just put it that way. It's not good. And I was working on the garage today, having to go up and down that ladder, and that my knee is pretty angry with me. And I'm thinking, would I want to sit there and operate the clutch pedal ever more than a couple times and be driving that car? And the more I think about it, it's like, nope, ain't happening. So for those of you that like the 4-speeds, I love a 4-speed car, but I don't think I'll be ever be able to drive one normally again. Something little, like a little Honda or something with a light clutch and pretty easy to drive, I could probably do one of those, but I wouldn't want to try to do it in one of my Mustangs. Probably have to just go with an AOD style transmission or something. Fairlane Central, really sick of junk new parts. Just had 2 new fuel pumps from Napa. Overpressure the float with 26 psi. That's not good. And especially Napa. Usually Napa has I say that, Napa has better parts. So, wow, that's not cool. Glad you're here, Fairlane. Sorry to hear about that. Jeff Norsenet, has anyone used a Roadster Shop Spec Series chassis on a 66 Mustang? That's a great question. And I don't have an answer because I don't know. Maybe somebody else has. Don, T5 shifter will come up through the OEM hole as long as the OEM Fox body bell housing is used. T5 tilted or titled 6. Is that what we're saying? Tilted. Oh, 6 degrees. Sorry. So T5 tilted 6 degrees. Good information, Don. You are the man. All that, and you fix guitars too. So, and play guitars. That's even better. I think you're at part 3 now out on the guitar repairs you're doing. So pretty cool stuff. Travis says, Norris, look at the Mustang's Defeater front subframe. I have heard great things. I ordered one and I'm waiting to receive it. Okay, awesome. TD, my 70 Mach 1 has an automatic too. I want an automatic now. I am an old timer also. I have a 65 fastback with 4-speed to get my shifting gears fixed. Yeah. I just don't. My knee is so angry. Anymore. If I drive for about not even an hour, my knee is angry. very, very angry with me. And it's my fault. It's my fault. It always is. You know, you do something dumb sometime, and I did something dumb a couple times with my knee, and yeah, it is not happy. So I don't I don't I don't look forward to the potential idea of actually replacing the knee at some point, but it may come to that. It may come to that. You know, if we could just get them to uh, bioengineer replacement parts for us, you know, good quality aftermarket body parts. Because right now I've got like trigger finger and my middle fingers on both hands. I've got like this. My thumb is like something weird going on with my thumb. My left knee, my right ankle, just falling apart. But you know what? I'm gonna keep chugging on. I'm gonna keep chugging on. Dawn says I have a lot of angry body parts. Yeah, yeah. Terry Rushing, they don't make knees like they used to. Yeah. Boy, if they could just, you know, take a few stem cells and put them in a blender or something and tell it to make a knee and then put it in there. Trevor says new dynacorn knee replacement. Yeah, I don't know if I want a dynacorn brand or not. It'll probably fit pretty close, but yeah. Wade Chandler, hey from North Georgia. I just walked in the house on a trip from Kentucky, and I thought you started the show at 8. Nope, 7 o'clock. Glad you're here, Wade. Always start at 7. Ed Cucciarella, are you saying you want Bluetooth replacement knees? Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah. David Moeller, Barry, thank you for pointing me in the right direction. My dynacorn parts arrived this week. Awesome. Good to know. Good to know. Black GTX, me too, Don. 30 years of wrenching on heavy equipment does that to a guy. It sure does. It sure does. You know, I look back at, you know, we all do these dumb things, right? I growing up at my dad's junkyard, doing all kinds of stupid things, being injured while doing it. I think back to like he would have me and my brother wash greasy parts in gasoline, put your hands in this gasoline and try to scrub all this grease off, you know, and Dad, it burns. Shut up. Keep scrubbing. And, you know, all the things we did later, I went in the Army and I jumped out of airplanes. I did all kinds of crazy stuff in the Army. And then, you know, as life has gone on, I worked for Delta, of course. Had a body shop. So basically working like 2 full-time jobs, trying to keep everything hustling and moving. And, you know, I look at some people who don't go that route, and they seem to be a lot better off at this point in life than I am. Like, you know, maybe I should have just sat back and stared at the wall a little more. I don't know. But it's just part of it, you know. Just keep on beating ourselves up as time goes on. Let's see, Michael. I don't think you can use those words in the same sentence. Good and parts. It depends. It depends. I've been very very happy with the quarter panels and stuff for the Mach 1 in particular. There's some good dynacorn sheet metal out there. So I will say that they've made some good parts. James O'Brien, got my cowl all welded up today. Used a MIG and Harbor Freight spot welder. Impressed with the spot welder. Okay, very good. That's good to know. Wade says if you have a knee replacement, make sure you get the one that has the grease fitting so you can keep it lubed. Yeah, I don't want to cut the hole. You know, like some people have had to cut the hole in the. They feel like they have to cut the hole in the shock towers, right, of the Mustangs. I don't want to have to cut a hole to grease my knee. That would be bad. Christian, the way aftermarket body panels fit, you're better off searching for new old stock. I'm sorry, new old stock. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. If you can find it, definitely new old stock. I just did a revised video of the Mystique Mustang, where I did all the back of the car. I condensed the videos, the quarter panel and the tail panel and all that stuff. And again, that video is about 10 years ago, and I wasn't showing the actual work like I do now. It was more of this is what I'm going to do, and then this is what it looked like, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what it looks like. But I highlighted in that the tail panel that I bought, which was it's still here, by the way. That tail panel is laying outside, and it's galvanized metal. It won't rust away. I will never use it for anything. It might make a good display if you want to put it on the wall and maybe throw some paint on it and say, oh, it's a Mustang. But yeah, the new old stock tooling, or they did have for the 65.6 cars, which apparently nobody does that anymore. They don't have that anymore. Was ideal to have, and anymore it's like, if I can find new old stock, I'm going to try to get it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And Christian gave me a big smile there. Okay, Doyle, I have had both a left knee and hip replacement last year. Can't work on the floor anymore. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. Sorry about that, Doyle. I've almost wouldn't mind having a platform that I could work on rather than some of the stuff that happens on the floor. I mean, I got my lift, but there's also different. There's like I don't know what they call them. There's some people out there that have the ramps that raise up. You can drive up the car on, and it's just like big car ramps, and they'll raise it up like 18 inches or something. I also have some that you can drive the car on and power them up, and it'll elevate the car, like I said, about 18 inches. And that would be ideal for doing some of the bodywork stuff, but I don't have the space to keep that stuff in here. David, I have the Mustang Steer subframe. I haven't installed it yet, but I can attest that it is truly a well-made part. Okay, good to know. Anthony Carver, I grew up in a scrap metal yard. I understand we wash parts and tools also. Yeah, it was, never fun. Don, my dad had me out back scrubbing VW tinware with solvent. My skin tingled for hours, caused immune system problems later. Yeah. That's back then. I don't know. We just did whatever Dad told us to do. But Dad, it burns. Too bad. You'll get over it. That's why, I don't, even now, I rarely work on anything without gloves. Now, if I'm doing body work, if I'm sanding and that sort of thing, that's a dry material. But I generally don't do much of anything anymore without gloves on my hands. As far as working on a car, like doing the brakes or anything, I don't changing oil. I don't want any of that stuff on me, and I go out of my way to make sure I don't have that stuff. But if I'm block sanding and even putting filler on the car, I will put gloves on, mix up my filler, put it on. I don't want any of that junk on me. It's just not worth it. Wade says that's what the rubber plugs are for. Oh yeah, for the grease fitting in the knee. Yeah. Mercury Man, do you do your own windshield installs? I'm just about to going to the point of doing mine. I doubt Safelite does these cars. I do, and I have videos on it. So go look at the Jade series. There's videos on putting that windshield in, and the windshield and the back glass. So yeah. So go check that out. Good question. but I do have videos out there. Terry Rushing, someone used an air chisel to cut the hole in the shock towers in my Torino. Ooh, that doesn't sound good at all. Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. An air chisel? Ugh. Yeah, not a good idea, I should say. Robert, having the 66 up higher on the body cart makes it a lot easier to work on, but can still be a little higher. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about getting some of those platform things, but the challenge is just setting them up. They've got to weigh a good bit of, with all the pumps and hydraulic or whatever. And by the time you slip them in the garage and you get them lined up, I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to handle it. Christian, there are systems like quick jacks on hydraulics. Those are cool and lift the car pretty high. They go under the rockers. Yes. Yeah, I've seen those as well. But again, the problem is trying to, set everything up. And I'm not going to want to lift that stuff. I'm getting too old to lift heavy things around and end up hurting myself somehow. TD, safety clean in the 70s, maybe not so safe. Yeah. I think, yeah, you're right. Not so safe. Fairlane, I swear I remember having kids do the things I'm too sore to do myself now. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any assistance. My kids are all gone. They're all grown up. Wild Bill, Happy New Year, everyone. Same to you, Bill. Glad you're here. Dawn, well, only benefit of petroleum absorption was mosquitoes don't bite. That's true. And I still rarely have mosquitoes come after me, but I doubt it's from any residual petroleum products. It's funny you mentioned that, Dawn. I'm going to bring this up just because. And I'm assuming that it's true. I don't know. But when I was in the Army, I had an old timer. I say old timer, somebody who's like Vietnam era. We were out in the field, and we had mosquitoes everywhere. This is down in Georgia, down at Fort Benning. Mosquitoes everywhere. And the guy told us, he said, because you get a set of matches in your MRE package. He said, take those matches, and he said, every day, eat the head of the match, just one. Just chew it up, get it in your system. And it was because it had phosphorus in it. And so I did it. I did what he told me to do. And I could lay out there in the middle of a field, and I could hear the mosquitoes all over, like, and they wouldn't bite me. Now, is it the healthiest thing to do? I have no idea. But that's what we did. And apparently it worked. For those of us that have tried it, it worked. I haven't done it since, though. So just keep that in mind as well. Black GTX, I made a set of wheel cribs with 2x4s. They have proven to be very useful. Yes, I've seen those. And that's not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea. It gets it up in the air, and he says, they give it an extra foot of height. Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. I haven't pursued that. I know like I said, I've looked at different things. I've got the body cart back there that I could put together. Of course, I have the rotisserie now, which I could use whenever I need to. But yeah, having the car elevated makes a world of difference, and I'm going to have to look at that moving forward because I'm not getting any younger. None of us are. But anyway, it is getting close to the end of this live stream. I've been at it for an hour. Let's see, Dawn. I need to make some of those on the floor with jack stands. Yeah. Terry Rushing, tobacco smoke repels mosquitoes. You don't have to smoke it. Okay, well, that's good to know. Shannon, I'm looking forward to next year. So to everyone, have a happy new year. Thank you, Shannon. Glad you were here. Anthony Carver, now you have me wondering about my 4 bypass. Wait, what? Now you have me wondering about my 4 bypass, died 3 times, cancer going to my brain, but I'm good, healthy right now. Okay, whoa, whew. Yeah, it's probably had something to do with all the junk we went through our system. So, TD, the matchsticks didn't affect me, didn't affect me, didn't affect me. I like it. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this live stream for this year. And yeehaw. I was looking at some information that I think I made I think it was 70 videos last year or this past year on YouTube itself, on this channel. I did a handful of others on my other channel. But, I'm hoping to really get some good content this coming year. And I'm looking forward to getting started on the 68 Fastback. That's going to be a fun project. So, again, thank you all for being here and being a part of this. This has been enjoyable. I know that I've heard it from other people that not a lot of YouTubers do this sort of thing, and I do find it beneficial. I think for everybody involved, whether it's me being able to talk about some things, or you being able to ask questions directly. And I think we've resolved a lot of problems over the past couple of years, help people with their projects, and I'm going to keep on doing this as long as I can, while I can. So that'll be it for this year. So once again, thanks for being here. Happy New Year. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.